GM fam, another day, another existential threat to our most beloved doggy Ponzi tokens. In this case, they're gunning for our stablecoins. Last night, the text of a draft bill was leaked regarding plans to neutralize stablecoins, and immediately Frax's FXS dumped 10% before anybody bothered to read what was going on. So what is going on? Well, first off, this draft bill is nothing particularly new. This year, we've already seen 4 other bills introduced to restrict stablecoins, and last year we saw 3. Before that, stablecoins didn't really exist. All of these have gone nowhere, and the newest draft hasn't even been submitted, so it's not even in the legislative pipeline yet. With just 9 working weeks left, nobody's expecting action this year. That said, this particular draft appears to be bipartisan, which is always a surefire sign that regular people are about to take it on the chin. There's only been one other bipartisan bill introduced, the Lummis Gillibrand bill, and that's the one that's got front-runner status. If anything became law, that would be much more likely. This particular draft text would introduce a 2-year ban on endogenously collateralized stablecoins. Huh? Well, this is just a fancy way of saying a stablecoin that's backed by another Ponzi within its same ecosystem. Think of UST being backed by worthless Luna, both of which are under the same umbrella. Now, regulators in DC are appropriately mortified by the collapse of UST, and that's fair. It shocked everybody, and nobody wants to see a repeat. It also changed the tone in DC towards cryptocurrency, and this is the really unfortunate part. It's also very, very silly, because if this regulation went through and became law, we'd see it easily glided around. We see this happen all the time where bad regulations hit the books and projects align their structure to avoid it. So we could imagine if this was law, for example, Terra would simply set up the facade of UST being a completely distinct project from Luna, even if some on-chain analysis might suggest otherwise, technically independent entities. At any rate, the claims that US has jurisdiction over a project based in East Asia is incredibly flimsy at best. So all this really does is torpedo innovation within the United States. So maybe if we repeat this point for the 1001st time, it's going to sink in. This is directly within the US's national interest to keep stablecoin innovation here in the United States. In fact, I'd say this is a national security concern. We've been given this unexpected gift. DeFi is the future of the economy, and it just so happens to be denominated in US dollars via stablecoins. This gives the US incredible opportunity to extend our dollar dominance into the future of money without having to do anything. This just fell onto our doorstep. We know how important the US dollar dominance is to our foreign policy. So taking these actions directly threaten this gift, this lead that we've been given in this space. By far, stablecoin innovation is one of the most exciting theoretical fields. We're talking about combining advanced mathematical research with a use case that people actually want to use. There's a tremendous product market fit here, $150 billion in stablecoins. It's also remarkably easy to deploy code that simply creates new stablecoins out of thin air. If we were a serious nation, we would be demanding that developers deploy code denominated in US dollars. Instead, we're frightening all the most talented builders offshore into jurisdictions that wouldn't be affected by this legislation. So we have a situation where America is going to be arresting its best developers, and the smart ones are going to be bringing their talents to our rivals. That is a recipe for national suicide. We are therefore incredibly surprised to see Representative McHenry's name attached to this leak. He's been among the biggest champions of cryptocurrency, so one would hope that he's better educated than this. So we're going to withhold judgment because we haven't seen what the final text looks like, but concerning signs. What does this mean for our bags? So for Frax's sake, they merely need to reduce the 8% of their token backed by Frax down to 0% to be compliant if this passed. Or there's maybe an argument they'd be grandfathered in. But if we scare Sam Kazemian into moving overseas, that would be an incalculable loss for our country. I would trade all of Congress for one Sam. Curve also weighed in and commented along these lines, pointing out that this is still an early draft and that this would only be sad for the United States if this continued. It's amazing that everyone sees this but our wise leaders. Now, one can imagine that some of the Congress motivation is to clear the field for a CBDC, but this is also inane. A CBDC would gain utility if it could be paired with a thriving dollar coin ecosystem. So one really hopes that we can get better leaders who understand this. Visit pac.xyz because there's a real threat here and you can be some help.